If you were a kid in the 70s or 80s, chances are you didn't just watch TV, you lived it. And at the heart of your living room adventures stood one extraordinary woman, Jaime Sommers. She wasn't just bionic. She wasn't just a superhero. She was a revolution. But behind that role was someone even more remarkable, Lindsay Wagner. And her real-life story? It's even more powerful than the fiction. Lindsay Wagner's rise to fame wasn't driven by scandal, controversy, or viral moments. Instead, hers was a steady, quiet climb, from background roles to Emmy award-winning performances, from a television superhero to a real-life symbol of healing, grace, and resilience. What makes her story even more compelling is that it was never about chasing the spotlight. It was about overcoming pain, listening to intuition, and choosing authenticity, even when it meant walking away from the noise. Lindsay Jean Wagner was born on June 22, 1949 in Los Angeles, but her early life was far from the glamour of Hollywood. After her parents' divorce, she moved with her mother and stepfather to Portland, Oregon. That home was not a sanctuary. Domestic violence cast a long shadow. To survive it, Lindsay leaned on humor. "The more pain I was in, the more I made people laugh," she later said, a coping mechanism common among children in chaotic households. She discovered acting in high school. It was in theater that Lindsay finally found a language for the emotions she had kept hidden. But academically, she struggled. Often mislabeled as lazy, no one understood the real issue: dyslexia. It wasn't until years later, during a visit to a school for dyslexic children, that she realized she had been battling the condition all along. At 12, while working as a babysitter, Lindsay met acting coach James Best, the father of the child she was watching. He saw something in her and invited her to his class. For Lindsay, that class was life-changing. "I realized I had nothing to be ashamed of," she said. "Domestic violence makes people feel isolated, but acting helped me reconnect with myself." After high school, she traveled to France to broaden her horizons. And upon returning to the US, she briefly attended the University of Oregon and Mount Hood Community College. Still undiagnosed, school remained a struggle. Her dream of becoming a psychologist faded as her grades suffered. But something deeper stirred inside her, a spiritual hunger. Raised Christian, she found the faith too rigid. "I wanted to be close to God, but religion seemed to push me further away," she said. So she started studying a mix of Eastern and Western spiritual traditions. That path soon took on new urgency. At 18, Lindsay was diagnosed with a serious stomach ulcer and advised to undergo surgery. But she chose an alternative route: spiritual healing. Friends from the Church of Religious Science offered support. For 6 weeks, she survived on skim milk and water, meditated, and practiced visualization. Against all odds, she recovered. That experience became the foundation of her personal philosophy, the belief that mind, body, and spirit are deeply connected. And while she couldn't become a psychologist, she realized she could help people through a different kind of storytelling, through acting. Back in Los Angeles, she began modeling and appearing on television. She had a stint on Playboy After Dark and even appeared as a contestant on The Dating Game in 1969. She didn't win, but industry insiders noticed her charm. She reconnected with James Best, who became her mentor, and with his guidance, she formally trained in acting. In 1971, Lindsay signed a contract with Universal Studios. Over the next few years, she appeared in a wide range of shows: Adam 12, Marcus Welby MD, The Rockford Files, Night Gallery, and more. Her performances were low-key, grounded, but undeniably compelling. By 1973, she landed her first film lead in Two People and a notable role in The Paper Chase. While the box office impact was modest, her talent stood out to insiders. A guest role on The Rockford Files caught the attention of producers Harve Bennett and Kenneth Johnson. These men would go on to create The $6 Million Man and later its iconic spin-off, The Bionic Woman. In 1975, Lindsay guest starred as Jaime Sommers, a tennis pro turned bionic after a near-fatal skydiving accident. The role was originally written as a tragic 2-episode arc. Her character was supposed to die, but the audience had other plans. After the episodes aired, ABC and Universal were overwhelmed with letters, especially from women and girls, pleading for Jaime's return. She wasn't just a character. She was a beacon of strength. Killing her off felt like betrayal. Under pressure, producers brought her back. Kenneth Johnson, who had opposed her death, pitched a sci-fi solution: cryogenic suspension. Jaime would live, and this time Lindsay's contract reflected her value, making her one of the highest-paid women on television. In 1976, The Bionic Woman premiered. Although a spin-off, it quickly outperformed its predecessor in ratings. Jaime Sommers wasn't armored or invincible. She was intelligent, intuitive, and emotional. She fought villains and trauma, and audiences didn't just admire her. They saw themselves in her. Wagner's Emmy win for the episode Deadly Ringer was historic, the first for a science fiction performance by a woman on American television. But the real victory was cultural. She had redefined what a female hero could be. In the decades that followed, Lindsay remained active, appearing in projects like Jessie, Peaceable Kingdom, Ricochet, and Warehouse 13. In 2019, she entered an entirely new medium, video games, when Hideo Kojima cast her in Death Stranding. Even in her 70s, she was still evolving, still challenging boundaries. One of her most personal career choices came in 1994 when she agreed to appear in Bionic Ever After. On one condition, Jaime Sommers had to marry Steve Austin. The audience waited nearly 20 years for that, she said. They deserved to see it happen. Her personal life was complex. She had a deep early relationship with Air Force Captain Daniel Yoder, which ended when he was deployed to Vietnam. Later, she married 4 times, each relationship ending in separation. She was open about the emotional pain of repeated marriages, calling it a stupid repetition of history. And yet, she never let any of that define her. She once lived next to Eddie Van Halen in the Hollywood Hills, but when he built a studio and began recording late into the night, she simply moved out. Noise wasn't just annoying, it disrupted her peace, and peace was something she protected. That same inner voice may have saved her life. On May 25, 1979, she was scheduled to fly on American Airlines Flight 191. At the last minute, she canceled because she felt unwell. Minutes later, the plane crashed, killing everyone on board. It remains the deadliest aviation disaster in U.S. history. Lindsay also lived with conviction. She followed a vegan diet for 15 years, later reintroducing fish and poultry in moderation. Her approach to health was grounded in balance and intention, but not all of her choices were universally accepted. In 2016, she faced backlash after endorsing MMS, Miracle Mineral Solution, a controversial substance the FDA warned against. Wagner said she used it to treat chronic hives and found it effective. Critics responded harshly, but Wagner stood by her experience, framing it within her broader belief in medical autonomy and self-healing. Even with controversy, Lindsay Wagner has preserved what few in entertainment ever manage: a deeply private, authentic life. She's not defined by her fame. She never was. She redefined the idea of a television heroine. She showed that strength doesn't require hardness, that healing is born from hurt, and that being a hero doesn't mean being flawless. It means being human. Today, Lindsay Wagner is no longer Jaime Sommers. She doesn't need to be, because her legacy, like the woman herself, has always been real. No superpowers, no spotlight, just a woman who broke, healed, and rose again. So here's the question: what really makes someone a hero? Did you grow up watching The Bionic Woman? What part of Lindsay Wagner's story resonates with you most? Her career, her choices, her journey of healing? Let us know in the comments below. And if you love powerful, true stories about television icons and unsung legends, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and hit that bell, because the next story might be the one that inspires you next.